beginning. Welcome, everybody. This is the 12:30 Eastern. Mr. Sedberry. This is the 12:30 Eastern Big Joel community call, 9:30 on the West Coast. We do have West Coast people on today. We got Mountain, we got Central, and we obviously have East Coast. Hello, Mr. Gervais. Okay, this week I'm excited. We got a great guest on. Little bit of housekeeping before we get to that. For those of you that haven't been on this call for a while or have never been on this call at all, there is a chat in the upper right-hand corner. If you have a question, please go ahead and put it in the chat. We do have a lot of people on here today, and there's a lot of people watching it live on Facebook as well. We will definitely get to your question in the chat. If we're giving you any information, like James's home address, if you want to drive over there and ask him a question in the middle of the day, we'll put that in the chat as well. Thank you all for joining us this week. As you know, we've changed up the format a little bit, and I'm interviewing a loan officer every week, and we're having Clayton Collins from Housing Wire on about once a month right now, based on all of your feedback. Okay, so everybody, welcome. Interesting times. More people are getting vaccinated. It's warming up all over the place. The agents are beginning to cautiously whisper about listings they have coming up to hopefully deal with this massive inventory issue a little bit. As you know, each week for the past at least 6 weeks, I've been pounding you on good files and good pre-quals and fully docking files and, doc, lock, and schedule on your refis. I still am a firm believer that we will begin to see refinances truly wane June, July. All of those refinances that are locked will probably close August, September, and in the fourth quarter, we will have a much more normalized purchase market. That's why I'm screaming and yelling at all of you to be out in front of this. You do not want to be on a used car lot selling cars because you've been closing 10 loans a month and 9 of them are refinances and 1 is a purchase loan. Your income will greatly decline. The first thing you will do is you'll scream and yell that the rates are too high at your company because you're thinking that's why you're losing loans. Not true. You're losing it because you don't have a relationship with your partners. Then you'll complain you don't have enough help because your company was letting you have the advantage of an LOA or some type of assistant because you were doing 10 loans and now you're doing 2 and you're not used to actually doing any work. So your company is either making you share or not even giving you access to that body anymore. Very normal. These are things that if you're smart, you do not want to happen. So the only way for these things not to happen is to be actively building your purchase business all the time. As you know, your job is to find people who need mortgage loans, become best friends with those people, and get those people to refer those loans to you. We all know the biggest group of them are real estate agents. This week, I've got James Allen on, hailing from the great state of Connecticut. James works for Guaranteed Rate. It's funny, this is a couple weeks in a row. We've got James isn't as young as Kevin O'Loughlin, but James has been in the business actually, I think, less time than Kevin O'Loughlin, and has managed to really ramp up his units very quickly. If you saw the little promo we put out, you saw some of those numbers. We made a little boo-boo there. That baby number was 2017, not 2018. But the bottom line is, really, James came into his own in 18, 19, 20, his biggest year. Obviously, for most people on this call, 20 was your biggest year. But the thing about James is it was his biggest purchase year, his biggest purchase unit year. So, James, couple of bona fides. How old are you?
36.
36. Okay, you're married. You have 3 kids. How old are the munchkins?
I have a baby who's 14 months old, a daughter who's 3, and I got a son who's 6.5.
Nice. So just so you know, it's been a jungle in James's house during COVID with all of that action. So James, first question, I like to ask that everybody is thinking. Well, before that, just quick bona fides again for people that didn't see that. 2020, how many units?
320.
320, and year to date, extrapolate through March.
103, 2.
Okay. about 30 a month. Okay, so you're ahead of schedule. And actually, you're way ahead of schedule because most people had short quarters the first quarter of last year. And 2019 ballpark units.
2019, 186.
Okay, so you almost doubled, which is just really awesome. And by the way, James is doubling, and I know this personally, is not just because of market conditions. It's because of the work that he put in to get himself in that direction. And then because he put in that work, he was actually able to take advantage of a crazy market even more so than a lot of other people. So James, real quick, first question I'm asking everyone coming on. Tell me how you're dealing with your agent partners, and James does have partners. They're not realtors. They're his partners or his friends. How are they dealing with the shortage in inventory? What are you talking to them about as you're sort of counseling them a little bit and sometimes being their shrink because it's horrible out there? And then how are you handling personally in your business, writing, the same pre-qual letter for the same person on 40 different properties in the whole bit? Are you doing anything that you feel is unique? Are you doing anything interesting with your partners to help them through this? Love to hear your views on just that, the fact that there's no inventory.
Sure, yeah. It's either that or we're writing 40 offers for one property from 40 different clients on the same weekend, right?
Exactly.
Everybody on this call is dealing with the same thing, so they get it. Couple of things, nothing that's rocket science. One thing that might be different for you guys, obviously, I'm starting to do fully pre-underwritten files. And I think that that's one advantage we can do right now. You can't compete with cash typically, but we're doing, the TBD underwriting, as they call it, or a guaranteed rate. It's called Red Arrow. It's not any different than what you typically tell your people to do anyway. I mean, you call a file a BIC file or a fully docked file. There's no difference between that and an underwritten file, except an underwriter just signs off on it. So we're doing that, and we're selling that in the marketplace. That's one thing. The other thing that I'm doing a lot of—
James, real quick before you go over that, okay? Because there's other people on this call that can do that at their company too. But the bane of their existence, the thorn in their side, is the approved pre-approval with conditions on it sitting. And then no one gets the conditions until the contract comes in, which means it's like a restart. What are your thoughts on the full doc so you're not doing that?
Well, I'd like to say I do that on every file, right? That would be the right thing to do. The truth is, we don't get to that on everything. I wish I was better about that. In a perfect world, we would keep those approvals up all the way through, and that's what I know you coach your students to do and all that. It's hard right now, for sure. I call it buyer constipation. We got all these people in the chute, and nobody's coming out the other side. So we're working with so many more people at any given time that there's a lot more effort involved in that these days. But yes, we are doing it. No, I'm not following up on that necessarily on every file, to be transparent with you.
Got it. Tell me about talking to the agents about the inventory. In fact, there's no inventory.
I mean, they're feeling the pain. I think that they're shocked to hear what we're doing too. I mean, we're working all weekend long, writing 20, 30, 40 offers, and the contracts that come in are 3, 4, 5. So they're surprised to hear that. One of the things, I'm spending a lot of time on the phone on the weekends with listing agents. It's not rocket science stuff, but it goes a long way to make that call and say, you got 10 offers on this house. This one's fully documented, or this one's actually underwritten, or this one's approved. Those are some of the things that we're talking about with them specifically.
So this is the second time, you're hearing a lot of this. We heard it from Michael Ullman. Kevin O touched on it a little bit. The interaction that James is having with the listing agents. Those of you that have been through any of my training know that could lead to other really cool stuff we don't have to get into right now. But I would say, as a takeaway, if that is not something you are doing for your partners right now, I think that's a fail. And if you think to yourself, oh, I'm too busy to do that, you're wrong. They won't forget the fact that you help them like that. And of course, you're also meeting a listing agent as well, but that's a different story. James, are you hearing in your market in Connecticut, are you hearing little rumblings of listings about to come on?
Yeah. I mean, I have one partner who's got 35 listings popping the week, 10 days after Easter coming up here. So I think we're going to see a pretty big pop in inventory in this market, a week and a half, 2 weeks from now.
So with that said, everyone, James mentioned the term BIC. Not all of you all on this call are familiar with that. That's a button car. It's a fully pre-approved buyer. But I mean, in Joel speak, those of you that know Joel speaks a little different than what you think is a pre-approved buyer. Now more than ever, that's what you want, because when the market gets flooded like that, you don't want your people doing extra work. James, I saw this great this agent who's actually married to a loan officer had this post on Facebook. Did you see the thing I tagged you? I tagged you in the post. I just put at James Allen in the comments. Did you ever see that? The agent's last name is Silber. And I just tagged you because it was about listing agents not wanting to take VA contracts.
Oh yeah, give me a break.
And no, and I thought it was really interesting. And those of you that haven't seen my podcast with James, it's a great podcast. It's on the bigJOEL site. If you want to watch it, in its entirety after the call, we go pretty deep on VA stuff. James has made himself a little bit of an expert, not a little bit. He is an expert on VA, and he decided to do that when he started, just to differentiate himself a little bit. And I also think he has a genuine affection for veterans and for helping them. But James, love to hear you just talk a little bit about that, even in this market when people are taking cash buyers, and you would think, oh my God, a VA contract, that's going to be the last one that's going to get taken, with 100% financing, and the fact that maybe the place won't even appraise. I'd love for you to talk about that. These loan officers don't even understand how that works with VA.
Yeah. So this is actually a perfect case study. I just had a VA offer accepted out of like 15 or 20 offers because it was VA. And that was part of the explanation that we did. So calling the list agents, here's the two questions that you want to ask up front. How many offers do you have? And then you're doing such a great job, right? Because they love that. And then the question is, how many of the other lenders have called you? The answer is always going to be like one or two. On your VA buyers, what I'm doing is positioning the fact. I said, hey, listen, if the appraisal comes in short, what's your plan on your other offers? And they're like, what do you mean? Well, if the appraisal comes in short on a conventional or an FHA, are people waiving appraisals, or what's the plan here if you guys don't hit value? And they say, well, we're going to have to renegotiate. I said, great. Did you know that when the appraisal comes in short on VA, that you actually have the opportunity to get with the appraiser and influence that value before they actually create the report? And they're like, what do you mean? And then I can walk them through how Tidewater works. I don't know how far you want me to go out of the weeds on that stuff. But
no, well, James, it's interesting because most people, they don't understand how many people in their market have VA eligibility. A lot of loan officers and agents think about VA, active duty, somebody wearing a uniform. That's what there's no bases around here. So why do I even care about that? Fail. There's millions, James, you probably know the numbers in each state of people that actually have eligibility, which means they can buy a home using VA. And furthermore, they lifted the loan limits. So James, you can go in the weeds a little bit, because I think people think this is interesting, because I think everyone on this call right now is either doing VA loans or would be doing them in a second if they knew how to do them in an easier way, or they could teach their agents, hey, take that contract and here's why. So explain what Tidewater, what that means.
Yeah, so if you guys have done a VA deal where the appraisal comes in short, you've either experienced this and didn't know what it was, or you've experienced it and you did know what it was, and congratulations. But basically, if the appraisal is going to come in light, the appraiser is required to reach out to the lender and indicate, hey, I can't find value here. I need Tidewater. I need you to help me raise the tide. And the reason for that is simple. The VA's panel is sometimes sending people from 30 miles away into an area where they don't know the specifics of that area. So they're looking for help. And the VA wants to give every opportunity for that house to appraise for the veteran. So when the VA appraiser calls and says, I'm initiating Tidewater, what they're saying is, hey, you've got 2 days to get back to me 3 comps that I must comment on how you arrived at your value here. And they'll include those. Now, they don't tell you what comps they've used so far, so you don't know if you've got the same ones they have and if you've made similar adjustments or not. But you can get 3 comps into that appraiser within that time frame, and then they have to add those to the appraisal, and they have to actually comment on those comps. And so when that call comes into our team, I mean, we're all like red light, like we drop what we're doing and we're calling the list agent, the buy agent, we're bringing all parties together and saying, hey, look, appraisers saying they're coming in light. You guys have 36 hours. I have 48, but I'm giving them 36 to get me 3 comps so that we can get with this appraiser and have some sort of influence on this value up front before they actually issue the report. And so that's only one chance you have to rebut on VA. If the appraiser still comes in light, many of you guys don't know this, but the SAR, the staff appraisal reviewer at your company, has the same stripes on his collar as the appraiser. That's the person who actually makes the decision on value. They can overturn that value if it actually makes sense and they choose to do that. So you can actually rebut value a second time at either the company or VA level if you want to. And even if that is turned down, you can appeal the VA to actually insure over 100 LTV when, and the only time you ever see this really come together is when you have amicability. So you're 10K apart and a buyer and a seller write a letter together and they say, hey, we want to split the difference on this. Buyer's willing to bring 5, seller's willing to bring 5, and they're going to split that difference. Sometimes the VA will actually allow for the guarantee to apply to a loan that exceeds 100 LTV in those cases. So that's an interesting thing to talk with agents about. They don't know
that's exactly right. What you just said, that's exactly where I was going to go with agents. So those of you that have been around for a while, you pre 2005 people on here, Ed Brown, those of you older people that have been around for a while know that years and years ago, dealing with VA appraisers was a nightmare. It was fee panel. I mean, they would just phase you into submission. Basically, and you wanted a conventional loan because you could talk to the appraiser. You could go stand in the front yard with the appraiser, with the agents. You could get comps and you could do exactly what James is saying you can do with VA. It was the exact opposite. VA is the only scenario where you can actually engage with the appraiser. You're not allowed to engage with the appraiser on any other type of loan right now since 2010 or 09 or whatever those laws were passed. You're not allowed to engage. So I think most loan officers don't know this, but what James said at the end, when I was cutting him off a little bit, was what a great thing to talk to agents about. And the other piece is they lifted the max loan amount. There's a lot of agents. I'll meet agents. They'll be like, VA, no. I can't use VA in my area. Everything's too expensive. Oh, but you are wrong. Yes, you can. You can put someone in a house with a 96 LTV, $978,000 loan if you know what you're doing and you know how to put it together. And it's the greatest deal ever. And oh, by the way, if it's a injured veteran or whatever with no funding fee, woo, that is the best deal in the history of mortgage lending. There is no better deal than that deal for a customer. And even for the listing agent taking it, it's the safest, best deal ever. And James, that's why I tagged you on that post. I don't know if you ever saw it, but I'll go back and re-tag you. I just thought you'd think it was so interesting that an agent was writing that I can't believe, exactly what you were talking about. So everybody, that's called Tidewater. It's something really interesting to talk to agents about. We all know any excuse to be talking to our partners is always a great excuse, especially in this market. BASOI, be a source of information, where the agents are so frustrated that they're writing multiple offers. Ed texted me, Ed Brem, who's got his camera on right now. James, he's guaranteed rate in New Jersey, bigJOEL, New Jersey. He texted me last week or something after we got off the call. Yeah, Joel, I mean, what did Ed, something went for like 60 over or something like that, like 60,000 over the list price. It was just insane. Like the agents are all like got their hands up in the air, like what is happening? Look, as more houses come on the market, those crazy big spreads are going to go down a little bit. Also, as most of these things settle, we have more comps. It becomes a little more normalized. The great news is it doesn't look like the rates are going anywhere. So people will still have a lot of buying power. James, tell me, in your market, can you do B2Bs in your market if you wanted to right now?
Yeah. Yep.
You can.
And we are to some degree. I mean, right now I'm quarantining because of exposure a week ago or whatever, but yes, in theory, we can do it.
Okay. Excellent. So most places people are getting back out right now. James, are you finding the agents are excited to be back out? Like, how is the feeling, with the exception of the fact that there's not a lot of listings? Are the agents pretty positive?
Yeah, I can stack a meeting every day, twice a day if I wanted to, no problem.
Okay, excellent. So everybody listen to that. You know, we're about to get in that zone as we come out of COVID. Those of you that have known me for a long time have heard me say, stand up, turn around, look at your chair. If it looks like an imprint of your butt cheeks, you're doing something wrong, because you're not supposed to be sitting in your chair all day long. You're supposed to be out doing your job, which is creating a set of new best friends who happen to be real estate agents. So you all can partner together. They sell more houses and you can do more loans. James, what are you doing to stay fairly sane through this? And I know it's been completely crazy. You know, everyone heard KO last week. Kevin O'Loughlin, it was great. I got so many texts on this. Kevin, I don't know if you're on right now. But he was just like, I work. Like, I just work. Like, there's no secrets. Like, I work. Yeah. Like, I put the time in, you know, and to a lot of people, I personally, it's so hard for me to listen to a whining loan officer when they're making 40 grand a month and they've never made more than 8 grand a month in their whole life. And they're whining they need me time or whatever. I'm like, yeah, tab me time later. You know, you don't need me time today. Take me time in 9 months when it's okay to take me time. I mean, let's go. You know, if it's happening, make it happen. I'm assuming you are full on, full bore all the time. How do you relax? Tell people what you do. Do you work out? Do you run from your screaming child? What things do you do to just let a little steam off?
Yeah, so I play guitar. I've been doing that for years. I play music. That's one of the ways I let off. And then last year in June, as like a little gift to myself, I bought one of those one wheel things. It's like a one wheel hoverboard. And I terrorize my neighborhood with that thing. People are like, that 36-year-old guy who's a little chubby is riding around on this like one wheel hoverboard. Where am I right now? But that's me.
So everyone, just a little unknown fact, if you're not friends with James on Facebook or you don't follow him or whatever. So everybody look at James, got his ball cap on, check him out. James doesn't just play guitar. Tell them all what kind of band you play in.
I am in a very, very, very heavy metal band.
So James doesn't just play guitar. He is a heavy metal guitarist, and he doesn't even put a wig on. He just goes out there just like that and brings it.
Like the heaviest kind of metal.
Yeah. So everyone, please check out my podcast with James. You'll really, really like it. I've been trying to keep these calls a little shorter. Sean Gaudreau is asking, what's the name of your band, James?
It's called Life in Your Way.
Life in Your Way?
Yeah.
Life in Your Way, Sean. And
in another life, we toured, you know, and had records and all that stuff. But these days, we just, you know, a little bit here and there.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone, you know, the podcast with James, we go super deep. There's got to be a minimum of Samantha Daly posted in the chat that after that podcast, she actually, James, did you see that in the chat? She actually got a couple of VA loans after listening to that because of how she spoke to the agents. She's thumbing up right now because of how she talked and what she was able to tell them, her expertness based on listening to that podcast. There's a lot in there that's super technical. You'll want to take notes in that podcast. The other thing James touched on, I'm not letting a week go by without saying it again. I have never seen a market since I've been doing this ever, where we've had a better chance to influence the behavior of our partners for the better of our partnership. And what I mean by that is gone should be the days of the 4:45 phone call on Friday. I'm taking someone out to write an offer. Can you talk to them and get me a letter in -7 minutes? Okay. We all know that when we talk to agents, when I talk to them, 99% of the time they knew about it on Wednesday. Okay. They didn't just get that person 5 minutes ago. Because of the way this market is, because it's such a seller's market, because it's so important for buyers to really have their quote unquote shit together when they write an offer, it's a perfect time for us to influence behavior with our agent partners. Like, hey, get me these people early. Hey, tell them I'm going to need a bunch of stuff for them. Hey, tell them I need it all immediately, because the faster I have it, the faster I can tell a listing agent, you're good to go. If I don't have it, I can't say that. I'm guessing, or I'm making it up as I go, or I'm lying. And guess what? I'm not the kind of loan officer that's going to lie. The listing agent says they're good to go and you're self-employed and I don't have a year-to-date P&L. No, you're not good to go. Okay? Because I haven't seen it. I'm not guessing. So I've never seen a time. I mean, let me tell you how it started years and years ago. Ed Rem knows this. Years and years ago, okay, we used to get contracts and then we'd call the people and pre-qualify them after we got the contract. And I know some of you all, it still happens to you right now. I was on a call right now with some loan officers on the North Shore of Louisiana yesterday, and they said it's happening on 50% of their deals. I was like, what? What kind of Martian land is that? Who's putting people in cars and writing contracts that haven't even at least talked to a lender? Well, you know, it happens, but now it really doesn't happen like that. But it used to. There's no reason we can't be talking to our partners' buyers way early, docking those files, and really doing what I call pre-approvals. And by the way, you don't have to submit them at Movement, or you don't have to submit them at Red Arrow, or you don't have to submit them at Loan Depot, or you don't have to submit them. You know whether the loan's approved or not. If you can't underwrite a file, you shouldn't be a loan officer. The bottom line is you got to be all over this right now, and it's a really unique moment in time. Also, remember, everyone, refis. If you have refis in your pipeline that are not locked or not scheduled, and your ops people are touching or breathing anywhere near those loans, that is an epic fail. And ready for this? Those of you who love me for this, you suck. Okay? If you want ops people handling a refi that is not locked in, which, by the way, is a bag of duty, it's nothing. Okay. The rates can go up, but it'll never close. All right. You want your ops people handling that. You're crazy. Okay. Number two, you take a refinance, you dock it, you lock it, you schedule it, and go get another one. You should not have files in process that your ops people are dealing with where they're figuring out when it's going to close. Talk to your ops people. They will tell you, yes, what a pain in the butt. I've got like 19 payoffs on this. Okay. Messing around, trying to get it scheduled to close. Dock it, lock it, schedule it, close it. I'm telling the loan officers that I work with one-on-one, lock everything for 60 days, schedule it for 55 days later, just like it's a purchase, and be done with it. Forget about it. Treat it just like a purchase. Let your ops people handle it that way and be finished. Okay. Some of you all may be offended by the way I'm saying this. I'm sorry on this one. I'm definitely right. Bring your ops people on the call next week, and they will all be with me on this one. Okay. So everyone, what an awesome time to be a loan officer right now. I can't think of a better time. The next 2 to 3 years are going to be insanely awesome if you're doing the right activities. James Allen is doing the right activities. I know he didn't get to share too much because I'm trying to keep these calls shorter based on feedback from you. There's a full podcast with him. James is very approachable, even though he's busy. James, what is the best way for them to find you? Facebook. Okay. Best way to find James is on Facebook. Connect with him. And then you can connect in a more personal way. He's a great guy. He loves helping people. He was helped a lot when he started and really appreciates it. That's the where he comes from. He's a very fundamentally grounded loan officer that does the right things and understands that. Oh, look at that, your cousin James, and knows what you have to do to be successful. And this year, I'm counting on him doing way more purchase loans. I don't really care about the refinances. That's fluff. That can go in the retirement account. So everyone, thank you again for tuning in. James, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And again, you have his stuff, his Facebook connection in there. James Allen, guaranteed rate from the great state of Connecticut. Please contact him if you have any questions. My site is bigjoel.com. If you want to see the podcast or any other podcast, talk to all of you all next Tuesday. Thank you, James. Everyone have an awesome day.